I want to talk a little bit about portraits and kind of art history in general. Okay, right now, if you think about where we are in art history, is we've gone through so many different art movements. At the beginning of kind of when people are trying to make pictures, they're just trying to figure out tools to how to make something look realistic. And so all of art, from probably the beginning of time to about the 1500s, was mostly concerned about trying to figure out how to make it look like a real person. And around the 1500s, we have people like Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael and Donatello and Michelangelo, and obviously we have the Mona Lisa here, kind of the pinnacle of that realistic style. Artists were now able to teach each other how to make it look exactly lifelike. And we'd achieved that. But then around the 1800s, some people start messing around, and all of a sudden, we got this. We've got photographs. And so we have this huge tradition of sculptors and painters and all these things, and the photograph basically changes all of that. It just takes, 20 minutes, and the entire portrait is done. The picture is perfect. There's no skill. It's just point and click and wait. This is from 1839, from a Russian, Daguerre. He is one of the first people to kind of invent the photographic process. Well, all these painters and all these artists, well, now what? They've got to respond. And that's when we start to get into some of these really interesting things like Impressionism and Expressionism. And here we have an Impressionist painter, Claude Monet. And he brings something really new to the table. This is quite a bit different than this. This is realistic, and this is impressionistic. Here we have, open spaces, and you see all these heavy, paint marks, and at the time, people were just kind of aghast by this. They're like, well, these people are crazy. This is ugly. There's all this unpainted stuff here. But what we find here is that you're able to use textures and colors in a new way to show some emotion and some different meanings. And that's really what we're getting into with our pictures, is that we're taking a picture and we're developing, the textures and the colors to start telling some more of the story about who you are, your personality, and your emotions and character as a person. And that's what we start to see with the Impressionists. Well, after the Impressionists, you got the Post-Impressionists. Okay, they dig deeper into those emotions and textures and colors, and here we have Van Gogh. And here he is without his ear. Okay, Vincent Van Gogh. He had a quote-unquote girlfriend who he needed to get a gift for, and so he cut off his ear, and then I guess later that day he was smoking his pipe, and he's like, hey, I better get a picture of this, put it on Facebook or whatever the 18th century version of Facebook was at the time. Then we have people like Edvard Munch, who get into really in-depth, this is the Scream, and he really gets into the expressionistic quality. You see all these lines and stuff like that. He's really scared. Actually, Edvard Munch, as a person, he's kind of interesting. He was obsessed with how he was going to die and his own mortality, and he worried every day of his life that he was going to die soon, and the guy lived to be 88. Then we got people like Pablo Picasso coming along, and he gives us this. He gives us Cubism. Well, this is crazy, okay? This is very different, okay? These are both portraits, and actually very similar poses. Okay, both seated ladies. We've got this Cubism from Pablo Picasso, really taking a look at the different angles and putting them together all in the same space, and these huge, flat spaces of color. And this does something different too. Kind of takes this idea and puts it to another extreme. Well, another person comes along, and he's like, well, I can abstract that even further. Oh, okay, well, now we got circles with colors in them, okay? All generated from this idea of taking the portrait, wanting to do something different because now we got cameras, and starting to mess with the ways in which that we put those together. And now we have someone like Chuck Close, who takes those circles of color and puts them into